Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with another fantastic video for you on your Green Card K1 Visa channel. Remember, I don't give you any legal advice. I don't work for USCIS and I'm not an immigration attorney. No way. But I've got 13 years experience processing green cards and K1 visas. Now, what if you travel and you lose your green card while you are abroad? You head to Australia, you go to the Philippines, India, and you lose your green card. You're going to get stressed out, right? You lost it. 1 minute you're having a fantastic time with your family, visiting your family, and the next minute you're looking through your luggage trying to find your green card because you want to go back to the United States. But you can't find it. You've lost it. Now, a lot of permanent residents, some of them, they panic, okay, and they assume that now they are stranded indefinitely or about to lose their status as green card holders completely. And I can understand the trepidation, right? But the good news is that while this situation is very stressful, okay, it's something that immigration authorities deal with fairly regularly. There's lots of people lose their freaking green cards, and there are still ways to get home back into the United States. So try not to panic, okay? Your green card itself is proof of your permanent residency status, okay? But the card is not the actual legal status. In other words, losing the document doesn't automatically cancel your residency, okay, or terminate your right to live in the United States of America, our great constitutional republic. So you must understand that. But if you must travel overseas, which I don't recommend you do, if you do and you lose your green card, okay, a lot of travelers, they're going to assume that the immigration officers are the main issue here, you know. But actually, it's not the immigration officers who are the real problem. It's the airlines, because they usually are the first obstacle, because airline carriers can get fined for transporting passengers without proper travel documents. So it's the airlines that become the first problem. Okay? So airline staff, they're going to say, well, we're not going to let you on the plane long before you even reach U.S. immigration officers when you get to America. It's the airlines who are going to block you from getting on the plane without your green card. Now, if the card was stolen instead of simply lost, okay, you can file a local police report. That's a smart move. File a police report. And this creates a paper trail showing when and where you lost the green card. How did it happen? And it may also help if someone later tries using the green card fraudulently. So file a police report if it gets stolen. You, in fact, file a police report if you lose it, if it's your fault. Now, embassies sometimes like to see official documentation connected to the loss, such as a police report. So my recommendation is, if you lose your green card while traveling overseas, file a police report with the local police department. Now, the U.S. government has already put in place procedures which are designed specifically for permanent residents trying to return back to the United States without the actual card in their hand. Now, I know it's stressful, but you're definitely not the first person this has ever happened to. Now, in many situations, permanent residents are basically stuck abroad and apply for a temporary travel document called a boarding foil. A boarding foil. Remember that word. Basically, it gives the airline company permission to let you get on the plane and fly back to the United States, even if you don't have your actual green card in your hand. Okay? And you can apply through a U.S. embassy or a U.S. consulate overseas if you get in the situation where you lose your green card. Now, this boarding foil is basically a temporary permission slip to travel back into the United States, but it is not a permanent replacement for your lost green card, okay? Now, once you get back home, you're still usually in need to officially replace the missing green card. And how do you do that? You got to replace the missing green card, right? What's the process for doing that? Well, it's very easy. Uh, some travelers assume that they just walk into the embassy and walk out with the paperwork an hour later, but that's not how it works. Sometimes the process does move quickly if you lose your green card overseas at the embassy or the consulate, but be ready for delays, and which is common depending on the country and the embassy workload. There's lots of embassies are busy. They have minimum staff, or they're on. It's a holiday weekend, or you have problems verifying your immigration status and identity. That becomes an issue, right? If you lost your passport too. So this is why most people keep copies, photocopies, or digital backups of their important documents, and they have an easier time when they go into the embassy. Now you can have old photos of your green card, your expired cards, your immigration notices, tax documents, passport stamps, or USCIS paperwork. All this will help prove you are actually the lawful permanent resident that has lost your green card. So even though your green card is the missing piece of documentation that's causing the problem, your passport from your home country still plays a huge role during your travel, okay? So if both the passport and the green card disappear together, things become way more complicated, okay? Because you may need a replacement passport and documents before dealing with U.S. immigration paperwork, etc., etc. So my advice is don't travel overseas while you're on a green card. Wait till you become a U.S. citizen, get a U.S. passport, and then travel overseas. And don't lose your passport. Now, there's people online in the the online realm. They sometimes suggest crossing through a land border instead of flying directly into the United States. You could do that. Land crossings give travelers sometimes more flexibility because the border officers can manually verify immigration status in person. But it's not a guarantee, and it's not a shortcut or a loophole. It's not going to magically fix everything. Okay? It's not going to do that. Now, lawful permanent residents or green card holders generally cannot simply be banned forever from returning to the United States because of a lost green card alone. Okay? Once immigration officials verify who you are and they confirm your status, there's usually a legal way to get back into the country. There's always a solution to the problem, right? There's always a solution. The solution is don't lose your green card in the first place. Now, if you're going to replace a lost green card, you're going to fill out a Form I-90. You're going to pay a filing fee. That can be very expensive, in the hundreds of dollars, depending, right? So you file Form I-90, and you could also buy travel insurance. Policies include assistance for lost travel documents. So if you travel overseas, buy an insurance policy that protects you if you lose your documents. You can set up emergency coordination at the embassy or unexpected travel delays tied to missing IDs. Now, not every insurance policy covers these situations, but it's worth checking into, right? It's worth looking into, because even a partial reimbursement for emergency hotels or airplane flights can help a lot financially, right? Now, it's totally understandable to have a panic attack after realizing your green card has disappeared overseas. But rushing into bad travel decisions, screaming and yelling at airline staff because they won't let you on the plane without a green card, or relying entirely on random internet advice, which you could assume is this too, right? Usually makes the situation harder. So stay calm and follow the official process, and you will get a successful result and re-entry back into the USA. You got me? Now, people who have gone through this horrible experience almost always start keeping digital scans and photocopies of everything afterwards on your phone. But don't lose your phone. You can have secure cloud backups of your documents, of your photos, stored on your phones, and copies of immigration paperwork. And then they become very important, right, once you realize how difficult it is to replace a missing document, and especially while you're overseas. So you're going to report the loss or the theft to the local police department. You're going to gather every piece of identification or immigration paperwork you still have available. And then you're going to contact the nearest U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate, and you're going to ask about remember what I said? A boarding foil, or the boarding foil procedure, or emergency travel documentation. Now, the more evidence you can provide showing your permanent residency status, the smoother the process is going to be. Okay? So losing your green card overseas, although it's a stressful, horrible moment in time, okay, especially when airlines refuse boarding, and then suddenly it feels like you can't get home. You feel trapped in the country, right? But in most cases, losing the actual physical green card does not mean you have lost your permanent resident status itself. Okay? So you get a boarding foil, you get embassy assistance, they'll help you. You're going to get immigration verification, and you can then get a replacement procedure put in place. And there are still legal ways to return to the United States of America. But the important thing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is to stay calm, gather the documents quickly, all right, and not to assume that your situation is hopeless, because it's not. Just because you lost the card itself, or it got stolen, it's not going to be it's going to be a hindrance, but it's not going to be a permanent problem. Okay? Thanks for watching the video, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hang in there, stay relaxed, and my recommendation is you don't travel overseas on a green card. You know, how long does it take to become a U.S. citizen in the United States if you marry an American citizen? 3 years, 3.5 years? You can't wait 3.5 years, become a U.S. citizen, get a U.S. passport, and then travel. Then you don't have to worry about losing your green card. Then you just got to focus on not losing your passport. Okay? See you at the next live stream, and thanks for watching the video.
I'll be back.